I'm Kiwi,
And I'm Jarad.
and we are the two gentlemen coming to you with that hippie hippie shake. Jared, how are you?
You don't want to see me do that. I'm good. I'm good. I bright and early for this, so we're virtual again because we bit of flooding going on in New South Wales, but in Sydney. But yeah, we're all good. We're all dry at the moment, so that's good. I will bring up a little funny story. Well, hopefully it's funny. I was driving around. I've been driving around in my wife's car for. Yeah, we use her car predominantly, and whenever I drive, every time I turn left, the interior light would come on in the and just come on sporadically, and then as I straighten the car, I'm like, okay, cool. It turns off. It started to do it more and more. Like every time I turn left, like at first it was like, why is the interior light coming on? I didn't realize it was when I was turning left. And then I worked out it was when I was turning left. I'm like, there must be something electronic with the car. I'm here. I'm racking my brains. I'm talking to people I know that are mechanic-y sort of minded. And I'm like, what's going on? You know, they're like, you need to book it in with the auto electrician. Like, this is going to cost a fortune. Something's wrong. You know, I'm thinking electronics in cars, like, that can be the, terminal. And then I'm there driving. I'm like, what is this? And I took it to the mechanic. I'm like, look, I don't know what's going on. They couldn't work it out. And then I was like, all right, this is annoying. And then I went back to the mechanic and I'm like, all right. And I had just had this sort of thought. I went back to the mechanic. I said, let's not think about like something complicated. Let's just think about something sort of basic. And he's like, yeah. And then we both just had this light bulb moment. And we checked the door jamb and it was loose. And the fact that, and the fact that I'm bigger, I'm pushing, as I'm turning left, my arms leaning on the door and opening the door, that slight little bit. And then the interior light was coming on. So we're going through all these like things going, what is going on with this car? And it's just the fact that got a large shoulder. Because my wife was saying that it's the way I'm driving. You're driving too fast. She's giving me a little bit of a hard time. And the fact, because she goes, it never happens with me. And I'm like, well, I don't know what's going on, and I'm trying to turn the steering wheel slowly. And I'm like, what is going on? And yeah, so it turns out that the fact that I was leaning on the door whilst driving, and when you turn left, your body shifts, and I must have pushed the door out there. So a little bit. And yeah, the door jamb just needed to be tightened. So there you go. So it cost me nothing. And saved me from buying a new car. Because I thought it was dead. I thought, once the electronics go, we're in trouble.
That's really cool. I was just waiting for the penny to drop, and I thought, surely it couldn't be accidentally pressing a button or something because they're up on the ceiling. I thought, where's this going?
That's where it was. It was literally me just, anyway, that's quite the, it was literally 6 weeks of working out and it turned out to just be a loose door jam or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. So that shows how mechanically minded I am. But even the mechanic at first didn't get it. Like he was like looking because I pointed him in the wrong direction. I'm like, hey, it's electronic, something's wrong. And he's searching, testing, and he's going, everything's fine. And then when we both kind of had this moment of like, hang on a minute, let's just check the real basic part of it first instead of going to the complicated part. But yeah, so what do you do?
So did he do all that for nothing?
Well, it was the car was getting serviced, so we're a long time customer, and he was just doing the regular service, and then during that process, he was sort of going through whatever you do to test electronics, and he's like, no, all good. So I don't think he did a real massive, big sort of check, but it was a real a basic one, I guess, and he did a part of the service, and So.
Well, thank goodness he didn't pull apart all the circuits and everything. Just
I know. I was like, if we went to auto electrician, it would have been like dashboard out, all the bits and pieces out, and trying to work out this loose wire. And really, it was just me pushing on the door.
Jarad, have you changed your driving technique since?
What? It wasn't my driving technique. No. I make sure I don't lean on the door. But that's dad life, I guess. Family life. They're the things I've got to worry about these days. But but no, other than that, all good. We we're supposed to go on a trip, but that got cancelled because of the weather. So yeah, we're just now trying to get through the school holidays with kids. Keep them busy.
Yeah.
What about yourself, mate? What have you been doing?
Same old for me, work, catching up with some friends. Got to give a shout out to one of our listeners, Alex, who I had no idea was a listener. And he said something lovely about you, Jarad. He said, Jarad's one of those guys that you talk to for 5 minutes and then they're your best friend. So he's never met you, but I had no idea that he even listened to this show. So thank you so much, Alex, for listening.
Wow. That's cool. That's awesome to hear that. That's hopefully I don't annoy people by being their best friend in after 5 minutes. But no, it's good. That's awesome. It's really good to hear that, especially, it's really good to hear that listeners or people like friends of ours that have listened at the start, supported us and then have continued on with the listening. And then it's really awesome to hear that, a new person is, you hear that somebody, I've just picked up this your podcast from, episode whatever we're up to. And then I've got to go through and listen all back. And I'm like, that's amazing. Like that, new people are coming on and our old faithful listeners, I don't want to say old, but our first listeners are still going. So that's really nice to hear.
Yep. I'll just give another shout out to our friend of the show, Hannah, who is a loyal listener. Thank you, Hannah, for always joining us. And I'll dedicate this one to you. And also we've got a new listener, a new colleague of mine, Martin, said he's going to check this out. So Martin, I told you I'd give you a shout out. So here you go. Wow,
you're bringing in all the listeners, mate. I better start like get a billboard on and walk around the streets or something.
Well, it's a part of our membership program. You sign up and I give you a shout out.
That's where I'm going wrong. See, that's where I'm going wrong. I'm not. I haven't put that in my spiel.
So, Jarad, to me, this is the joyous part of life: connection, friendship, bit of a laugh. And as we've talked about in the past, not all of life is like that. And you mentioned to me before that, sometimes we do things to escape reality. I think for me, this is a bit of an escape. I've got a very hectic life. There's a war going on in Ukraine. There's famine going on in all parts of the world. There are so many, let's just say, bad things happening. There's floods all over New South Wales. On top of that, there's general climate change that is going to affect all of our future generations. Is there anything wrong with escaping reality, though? I mean, do we have to live in that world all the time? Is there anything wrong with having a bit of fun, watching a movie?
Yep.
Getting away from it?
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I guess I've got more to say, but essentially, as long as it's in moderation, I would say so. If I start escaping reality too much and get lost in, playing Nintendo 64 GoldenEye for 3 hours, then it's probably, too much. But I guess it's just sometimes you just need. It's almost like a reset, or like you said with this for us. Like we did this during the peak of the COVID lockdowns here in Australia. So for us, we were able to connect, and when a lot of people weren't connecting, we were able to almost, express our feelings and talk about like things that are going on, even though we couldn't leave the house or we could only sort of go a certain distance. Like you'd think, look back at that, and that's crazy to think that, but that wasn't that long ago. And for me, this was an escape, and is an escape for, like for this half an hour that we have a chat. For me, I look forward to it every week. And I think I've said that, many times. But yeah, look, getting back to things like, watching a movie, listening to music, sometimes I'll just put an album on just to get lost in that album.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing in particular. I'm quite eclectic sort of music. I know I'm not going to sit here and go, like particular music. Literally just grab a CD, or it shows how old I am. But grab an album or spot. No, grab a CD. I'm sorry, I'm old. And just pop it on and go down the garage and do something. probably waste an hour, but it's needed, I think. And it's as long as you know anything in moderation, you know, I think as long as you know, okay, the album's finished, I'm not going to now watch a documentary on that, you know, and I'm not going to go and, you know, I guess affect any other part of my life by doing, you know, that's the key. That's when I think it gets a little bit, is unhealthy the right word? But, you know, I was just going to use unhealthy. You might be able to correct me, but that's when it gets a little bit, yeah. So it goes the wrong way, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think unhealthy is a good enough word for it. I've heard, I don't know how serious this is, but people who think that they can shift realities or something like that, or move to a parallel dimension with their minds, to me, that's where we get into the dangerous part. So instead of, say, sitting down and listening to the best of Nickelback as you do, they will, I don't know, I don't even know what they're doing, but they think that they can, I don't even know what it's called, but some sort of, parallel dimension shifting with their minds. And I think, you know what, that's probably taking it a bit too far.
Well, that's even changing reality. That's actually not escaping reality. That's creating another reality. So, you know, so essentially, this is going to get confusing for me. But the reality you're living is now becomes the escape, and the reality that you've created is your. You know, it's like, to me, that's another level of escape. That's even a creation of another parallel world. I mean, geez, we're getting pretty deep there.
Well, look, I do want to go back to that. I just want to bring something up that Hannah will definitely be able to relate to. And when you surf, you actually lose track of time. If you don't have a watch and you don't have somewhere to be, you've got no idea what time it is. You're just out there, and it's almost like you've got a different reference point. Maybe it's because you're not on land. I don't know what it is, or just because it's such a great activity, but you get lost in it. And it's the same with rugby. The amount of times we've played rugby and I've been like, what, there's still, this much to go. I'm exhausted or whatever. You lose.
Well, the other way around, The other way around is like, oh, there's 5 minutes to go. We're literally been out here for 75 minutes. Like, but there are activities, aren't there? Like, and even work. Like, I know when I do things around the house, if I don't have something with me or I don't have the time, you lose track. Like, you can easily get stuck in this, like, escape or whatever it might be. Even if it's not an escape, even if it's like, oh, I have to do this work around the house, or I have to, before you know it, an hour and a half is gone. Like, oh, for you, that flew because you were busy and you weren't thinking about, the fact that the kids were up here with my wife, probably running amok, and I'm down in the garden just weeding, with my headphones on, just doing what I want, trimming a couple of hedges and mowing the lawn. And then it's like, oh, it's been 2 hours and you've had to deal with this reality in the house, and I'm just there, cruising along, thinking the world's all roses. I mean, it's you do get lost in certain activities, and I know I'm not a surfer or an ocean dweller, I guess. I don't know, but I can imagine you do get lost, and there's certain things that are like that for me too.
Actually, I remember one night I was reading a book and I thought, oh, look, I should probably get to bed now. It's probably 11 o'clock. I looked at the time, it was 3 a.m.
Yeah.
I thought I was just a fast reader. I was there all night. But, they say get lost in a book. I really do get lost in books. Yeah. So it's one of those pleasures. And so we talked about, escaping reality and creating reality with these other people. But we do create a type of reality as well, don't we? I mean, that's the whole point of being human. We're not just subjected to whatever nature throws up at us. We were retreating into our caves because it was raining, and it was no longer raining because we're indoors. So we create a whole new environment with that. And, when you're indoors, what do you do? Well, you do cave paintings or whatever. And we've extended that since into video gaming and reading and playing guitar and whatever else you do. So it's something that you do. We need to pass time. When we're not gathering our resources, we're passing time doing something else.
Yeah.
And I guess there's nothing wrong with that. I think it just gets unhealthy when you no longer gather your resources and all you're doing is cave paintings and the whole tribe starves.
Yeah, that's pretty much 100%. That you do need these outlets to to survive, because we can't be just doing stuff like gathering, like you said, all the time, and we need these outlets that we enjoy. And that's why people have hobbies. That's why people have things to do, and like going to the movies, and like going to the movies, for example. Like, you get locked in this not locked, but you get put in this dark room, and you essentially your senses, they remove all your senses, and you're focused on that screen, which is reality at the time. And it's like a book, and it's like if you get lost in that movie, or in that, sometimes these movies sometimes go for 3.5 hours. Like, that's half the day. And you come out of the movie theater, and you're rubbing your eyes, and you're trying to readjust to the reality, and but that's why movies and shows and things exist. People want that moment away from, sometimes it doesn't have to be a bad situation, but people just want to escape that situation, whether it's good, bad, or otherwise.
Yeah. And I don't think that's unhealthy.
Escape's probably, as we're talking, I'm thinking escape might be the wrong word, but I'm just trying to work out what we replace it with. But hopefully we find out something by the end of the show.
Maybe a reprieve from the day-to-day grind, because life can be a real grind. And no offense to my children or anything, or anyone else's children, but when you become a parent, you do look for that moment where you do get a break, don't you? Like, to have that rare moment with your wife at home, where you've got the TV to yourselves, perhaps, or you get takeaway that night, so there's no cooking duties, or you're getting pizza, so there's barely any cleaning up duties. That little bit of a break from the grind, I think, is really nice and so good for mental health.
You grab onto it, don't you? And I know, like, even if it's just taking the kids over to, the relative's house, and it's for like an hour, it's just that, like, that means there's 4 or 5 adults in that house that can kind of take on a little bit of the duties of whatever, Dad, make me a sandwich, or Dad, do this, Dad, come here and look at this, which, not whinging about, but yeah, you're right. Just that instead of Dad, it's, oh, Nan, can you come and have a look at this? Or, or Granddad, can you come and have a look at this? And it's like, oh, I can sit for more than 2 minutes and actually watch what's on telly, or have a coffee, or whatever it might be. And it's just a tiny little, like, we're talking an hour, not even an hour sometimes. And it's just, it's nice.
Yeah, definitely. Jarad, have you ever been in a situation where escaping the grind has gone on for too long and you've neglected any duties?
I'd probably say when I wasn't overly happy with what I was doing for a job. Essentially, you can. It's easy to go too far with escaping that reality. So I was super aware that I wasn't overly excited about what I was doing. So it was a lot of hard work to get up in the morning sometimes. So escaping the reality of work, in my opinion, is unhealthy, but you tend to, what, I've got a headache today, I'll call in sick. Or, oh, you know what, I might as well take 2 days off, and that can, like, so if you do that once or twice and you're like, you know what, I can do that now. And then all of a sudden you're like, I probably could have gone to work, or, that headache wasn't actually a headache, it was more of anxiety, or whatever it might have been, right? But you've escaped those duties of, look, I must, work to create, to obviously bring in money to pay for everything I need to pay for. So I can see why people can get into a bit of a rut in regards to that. Like I said, I had to be super aware that I had to take day by day, put it that way, because I wasn't overly happy with what I was doing, and it created my mind started to try and create ideas like, you know what, you could probably escape that reality by doing this or doing that, or taking a day here and day there. And when I was doing that particular work, and that was when I was working on my own for myself, I was the one being affected, by if I took a day off, I didn't get paid, So, so for that is, that's having an effect on me, my family, everything. Me providing for my family in whatever way I can, like that. That to me was that's why I had to leave and find another path in regards to career. So, that's where it can get. That's where I think I was becoming unhealthy in regards to escaping reality, because my job was my reality at that point.
Yeah.
And looking back, I hope I did well with it, but there was weakness. There was days where I had weakness, and there's days where you're like, you know what, I don't want to go in today, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to stand around. My job was boring. Eventually got, and it was just where I got myself, So it's not, but again, anything in moderation. If you need a mental health day, take a mental health day, by all means. It's when that mental health day becomes a mental health week, happens weekly or happens every fortnight. That's when you've got to reassess. In my opinion, that's when I had to reassess. Okay, I've taken a day off and I still want another day off. Why? So that to me was, a moment that I think I handled okay, but there were days of weakness.
Yeah, well, that's a really good lesson for everybody listening. That definitely listen to your body, listen to that headache, that feeling in the gut. We've talked about gut feelings in the past.
Yeah.
Please tune into your bodies and have a listen. Yeah, and also that's a good message to all the employers out there that, keep an eye on your employees. They're not happy. Make the workplace better. Check in with them, and that will definitely reduce employee absenteeism over time if you can make it a better workplace. Yeah,
and look at, I guess, I'm not in a super position to sort of say this sort of stuff, but like going down that path of, if you are employing somebody and you do see, things starting to occur, like just, have a check-in. There might be a reason why, they're absent for that period. They're starting to get a common sort of, this is happening every month or every week or whatever. Then understand that they might actually need a bit of, someone needs to reach out to them and, hey, why not you? Why not you? What? Like sometimes all it takes is somebody to ask someone, are you okay?
Yeah. Yeah. And look, I work in a pretty tough job at times, but I'm just lucky that I've got great colleagues. It makes all the difference, really. As long as the team's together, whatever happens at work is fine. We can all handle it. But it's when there's other conflicts that arise that, work becomes intolerable.
And look, having good colleagues and having good people around you, whether it be you go home to a strong family unit, or you have good work colleagues, or you have a situation where you can go out with friends and blow off steam, as they say. Again, that's in moderation. That's okay. But, it's hard. Sometimes a lot of people work on their own and your mind, you might do a monotonous sort of situation for your daily, for your job, and you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again, and you're just there with your thoughts, and sometimes that gets hard. So blowing off and escaping reality, blowing off steam, or whatever you want to call it, is definitely required in moderation. I keep saying in moderation, but I guess that's something that I want to put over that.
Yeah, and moderation applies to all areas of life. Really.
Yeah.
I remember there was an old saying that I read when I was in high school. It was everything in moderation, including moderation.
Yeah, right. Takes a bit for me to get that one.
Yeah, well, there's times when you can just go nuts. You win the grand final and you party for a week. You do that. Now don't party for a week every week.
Yeah. The weekly anniversary of your grand final. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a good point. It's a good point. Well, you read that in high school. You're quite the
That's why I didn't have any friends, Jarad.
Oh, right. Is that why? Okay.
I think that's why we drifted apart.
Yeah, no. They're telling me moderation. Well, what? You're getting too philosophy. What's the word? You're reading too much, and I was not reading anything, so that's probably why.
I think the word you're looking for is nerd.
Yeah, but this whole moderation thing, I mean, that goes back to those days, for me, going back to those days is, I binged on my, my sport and everything like that, and I binged on my going out, and I did that for a long time. So anything like that, when you look back in life, you're like, maybe I should have, not been as interested in doing that. And moderation. No, gotta listen to Kiwi.
No, don't listen to Kiwi. But by saying maybe I shouldn't have been like that, that's a form of escaping reality itself, isn't it? By wishing for things. In the Buddhist philosophy, they say that desire is the cause of suffering. And desire, is kind of wanting a different reality. Now, if you do want a different reality and you can create that reality, go for it. Then you're part of a different kind of grind. You're building a house to escape the elements, or you're building a bomb shelter to protect yourself from the war.
Yeah.
That's a desire, but there's also an action towards that desire. I think everybody in the entire world wishes they could turn back time. Everybody. We've all got that moment where you're like, you know what, if I could repeat that, if I just had another go at that, if I could kick that field goal slightly differently, or if I could take an infinite number of shots at that goal.
Yeah. Would have done that a little bit.
Yeah. That's escaping reality, isn't it?
What is, isn't it? Looking back and thinking where reality would have, what reality that would have created, I guess, that there's big things in life that you go, wow, I did this right, and this is where I ended up. And you look back at the other things, and there's bigger and sometimes just minute things where you're like, I wish I didn't take that left-hand turn and run into that person who, or walk into that situation where my car got stolen. If I parked here, my car wouldn't have been stolen, like little things like that. And that's, I'd still have that, and, I wouldn't have to have gone through that. But then, that's the beauty of life.
Yeah. So regret is a form of escaping reality. It's not accepting what has happened. So there we are, Jarad. I didn't expect us to end up here, but it always ends up somewhere like that, a bit left field. So accept things as they really are. And if you don't accept them and you can grind your way to get out of it, then fantastic. That's not escaping reality. That's being proactive and making great life choices and taking control of your own life. Fantastic. But there are things that we cannot change. I was a 5'3" Vietnamese dude that wished I was a 6'4" Samoan. It's when Mother Nature was handing out bodies, I asked for a Sonny Bill Williams and I got this. So.
Maybe Mother Nature must have misheard or something.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but it's, you can fantasize all you want. I still literally have dreams about playing football. Something I never did was put through a grubber for myself my entire football career.
Really?
Yeah, not once. I don't think I even chipped over the top for myself because I wasn't a selfish player. I was always a team player. And that's one of those things I regret. I'm like, just one of those Alfie Langer style brothers. But hey, I've got to accept reality. I'm an old man sitting in a bathrobe right now, long retired. They're the facts. There's no grind that I can do to bring that moment back. Now, if I say I want to be a professional writer and I want to be a novelist, hey, that's not escaping reality. There's a grind that I can go through to get to that point. Whether I ever get there or not is another question, but it's something that I can actually work on. So to me, this whole episode's been really eye-opening to know that, hey, have your head in the clouds, but keep your feet on the ground. And if you can walk towards a goal, go for it. If you can change your reality, go for it. If you need to take a break from the grind in a healthy way, like Jarad does, listening to music, listening to his CDs that are probably all old and scratched because maybe he doesn't take care of them properly. No, I think Jarad keeps them in a case, all alphabetized.
Yeah.
It sounds like
Actually, you open the CD and you're like, oh, it's the wrong CD in there. I'm the guy.
But yeah, we've got there's a lot to do to pass the time, and just know that we can't go back, but we can definitely take control of what's in front of us.
Totally.
I don't know where all that came from, Jerry.
No, they came from a place. That's all I can say.
A real place.
It was a real place. No, it's very what stands out for me is the fact that, looking back, like we just discussed it, looking back is a way of, a form of, escaping reality to some degree, but that's okay to remember that and go, look, I did, but don't dwell on it. And don't let it affect your current reality and what you're striving for now at this point in your life.
Exactly. And look, you're still young. However old you are listening to this, you are still young. After seeing my dad come back from the dead at the age of 76, he's got a whole new lease on life. And like we said, if he lives for another, if he lives till he's 100, that's almost another lifetime. 20-ish years for somebody is a long time. So you could get a PhD in that time. So however old you are listening to this, and I'm guessing you're probably in your 30s to 40s. That's our biggest demographic, I believe. Then you are still young. Okay, take control. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Please give us a like. Please contact us. Say hello. We love hearing from you. We're going to keep doing this for a little while longer before the end of season 2. By the way, Jared's birthday is coming up. Just letting everybody know. So make sure you get him something. Get him something nice. I'll set up a GoFundMe for Jared's birthday.
Yeah, $4 you'll get. Yeah. probably be my wife.
Jarad, thank you so much.
No, thank you, buddy. It's been fun as usual.
See you, mate.
Yeah, bye.